بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء نحوا سنقرئك فلا تنسى
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. Inshallah, we are going to have lesson so we are going to have our lesson 14, lesson 14a. The reason lesson 14a, because lesson 14 is big, and that is why I will just have to give it into two segments. So the question is, there are people, they are exempt from fasting. They don't have to fast. So there are people that are exempt from fasting. Yes. So there are people that are exempt from fasting. They don't have to fast. So who are these people who are exempt from fasting? So we have lesson 14, and I think this ruling is from 1042. So this is in two segments, A and B, lesson 14A and lesson 14B. So this is the 8th section of rules of fasting in Minhaj al-Salihin, 8th section. So in this 8th section, which is exemption from fasting, cases where a person is exempt from fasting. وردت الرخصة في إفطار شهر رمضان لأشخاص. It has been narrated. So it is a narrated. So because there are narrations, because fasting is wajib in general, but there are certain cases, the hadith, they exempt these people from fasting. So وردت الرخصة في إفطار شهر رمضان لأشخاص. There has been exemption to break the fast for certain people in the holy month of Ramadan. منهم الشيخ والشيخة. الشيخ والشيخة doesn't mean the Maulanas, the Maulana male and Maulana female. Because in Arabic language, as we mentioned, that Sheikh means the religious scholar is also called Sheikh Fulan and Sheikh Fulan. Okay, so there is also a terminology. That doesn't mean that the Maulanas, they don't have to fast. And Maulaniyas, Maulanats, female, they don't have to fast. Because if that's the case, then why should we be fasting? We are exempt. We have the Sheikhs and the Sheikhas. Sheikhat, the house of students, they are Sheikh and Sheikhat. So they shouldn't be fasting. So it is not like that. Sheikh means elderly people. And I have mentioned in Ilm al-Rijal, the word Sheikh, it was used for a scholar because most of the time, the scholars would be elderly people. And in once upon a time, I remember that the Maulanas, most of the Maulanas, they would be in elderly age. Now it is an era where we see young Maulanas, they started becoming, they have black beard, and mashallah, they're Maulanas and they're shuyukhs and sadat. So the time has changed, but there was a time where you would see only elder people, they are shuyukhs, because they would continue their study, and their circumstances would not force them to leave the study. That's one factor. Another factor would be that no, the knowledge was scattered. Now the knowledge is very condensed and in one place. Number two. Number three, the old generation, the intellectual capacity of them was suitable in that time. Now we have this PlayStation generation and Xbox generation, all these video games, which makes the mind move fast. So there is a kind of hyperactivity in the mind for these people. In those days, there were very few people that would have this hyperactivity. So if the mind is hyperactive and the academic system has developed the mind structure in the childhood, they study a lot of material. that when they reach the age of adolescence, they are prepared to study the Hausa classes. So that is one of the things which one of the factors or few factors which made our previous scholars be in that kind of situation, that they would take longer time. Nowadays the generation takes shorter time, and there has been a lot of filtration in the Hausa books, and that the books have been made in a way that they're more easier to be digested and understood than the traditional ways and traditional methodologies. So anyhow, so a sheikh was sheikha. So we come back to our sheikh was sheikha. Sheikh was sheikha, the elderly male and the elderly female. Wadhul attash. So these are the three people that are exempt by narrations, by the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Dhul attash is somebody who has severe thirst, okay, who has, that means he feels thirst, he feels abundantly. Severe thirst is enough. So it becomes thirsty abundantly or frequently. So I'll just put this because severe thirst is enough definition for the attash. Attash, like in Urdu language, when we or in the majalis of Ashura, al-atash, thirst. Attash means severe thirst, a person who has severe thirst. So these are the three categories. But there's a condition. If the attash can fast and tolerate, then no, he has to fast. But if an elderly person, an elderly female, if they can fast without any difficulty, without any hardship, then they have to fast. But mostly under the medications and under a lot of issues, elderly male, female, it is very difficult for them to fast. So that's why it says, إِذَا تَعَذَّرَ عَلَيْهِمُ الصَّوْمُ. If it becomes difficult and hardship, if they're unable to fast. So there are two things. They're unable to تعذر عذر يعني معذرة خواه يعني عذر يعني an excuse. They had an excuse. They couldn't fast. So it was difficult for them to fast. They can't fast. Or they have sickness which prevents them from fasting. So that is ta'addara. Okay, that is one. Or no, they can fast, but it would be very difficult for them. That's why in the Quran it is mentioned وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ. That means they can fast, but they have to put a lot of stress and a lot of efforts in fasting. So that's why this itaqa means putting a lot of taqa, putting a lot of stress, putting a lot of strain in it. So they can do it, but إِذَا كَانَ فِي حَرَجٌ وَمَشَقَّ عَلَيْهِمْ. But there is difficulty and hardship on them if they do it. So now we know that elderly male, elderly female, and the one who has severe thirst, they are exempt from fasting on a condition. They are not able to fast, or they are able to fast but with very difficulty and hardship. So they are exempt. وَلَكِنْ, but then what? يَلْزَمْهُمْ حِينَئِذٍ الْفِدْيَةِ. So there is a substitute. So what is the substitute? They have to pay the fidya. Now, these definitions we need to understand that fidya is not kafara. Many times people, they call a sheikh, what is the kafara of somebody elderly? Kafara is, the word means penalty. Penalty is if somebody does not fast, okay, and does not have an excuse, he's penalized. So that is kafara, the one which removes the sin. Somebody intentionally does not fast, he has to pay the penalty. Somebody makes a nadhr and intentionally does not pay off his nadhr, he has to pay penalty. So kafara means penalty. Kafara means penalty. Fidya, fida means, but that the people, they used to say, fidaka abi wa ummi. I will give up my mother and my father for you, ya Rasulullah. Okay, bi abi anta wa ummi ya Aba Abdullah. I'll give up my father and mother for you. If you want me, I will leave everything and come to you, O Abu Abdullah. So that is the fida. Fida means in substitute, in exchange. I'll leave this and I'll take you in substitute, in exchange. So fidya means in substitute, in exchange. And it's a type of sadaqah. So that is why Sayyid Sistani, sometimes he calls it sadaqah. So it is not kafara. So it is not kafara. It is not penalty. It is fidya. It is a substitute. It is an exchange, because you are exempt. You are exempt from fasting. You, Sharia, the Islamic law, the legislator told you don't have to fast. So why should he penalize me? Why? No, it's not a penalty. It's not a kafara. That is misunderstanding, miscommunication with the people. They don't understand the difference between kafara and fidya. Fidya means وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. So we exchanged, we replaced Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. One sacrifice was required from him. Okay, so Prophet Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam was not sacrificed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us another substitute, dhibhan azim, a great sacrifice, a great goat. There are interpretations. This was great goat. Why? Was the goat greater than Prophet Ismail alayhi salam? No. So there are two opinions. Why is the fidya? What is the substitute? For example, the lesser is substitute on behalf of greater. Okay, so Prophet Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam was great, and so this sacrifice was a substitute. Like, for example, I cannot fast. Fasting is great, so I'll give a substitute which is smaller. So this is one interpretation, that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam sacrifice was substituted by what? By a greater sacrifice. So by a greater sacrifice. So that means if Prophet Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam is great, then the goat cannot be greater than Prophet Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. So what does that mean? Greater sacrifice could mean that generations after generations, they would give sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is why these sacrifices are greater. But then there's another opinion which fits the context, which is the sacrifice of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. Without any doubt, Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam has greater rank according to the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam than Prophet Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. Number one. Number two, the sacrifice was from the descendant of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, because Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam is descendant of Ibrahim alayhi salam through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam through Prophet Ismail. So he was a descendant of Ismail. He was a descendant of Prophet Ibrahim. So it was a sacrifice of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And that sacrifice was not a goat, it was Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam's sacrifice. So based on the opinion which says this, the substitute is lesser than the substituted, then that was the goat, which was a substitute for Prophet Ismail alayhi salam, because the one which you spare is greater. And the opinion which says no, the substitute is always lesser in greater in rank. You give greater in replacement of a lesser. In that case, Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam is the sacrifice, because he's greater than Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. And then if we say that the ayat says dhibhan azim, greater sacrifice, then regardless of these both opinions, the ayat by itself has mentioned that the substitute was the great. Dhibhan azim, great. So in that case, the indications on Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam are more stronger, and that is what many of the scholars of school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam say, and the context also indicates such. However, but there was a sacrifice in replacement of Ibrahim alayhi salatu. So that is fidya. Fidya is not a penalty. وَفَدَيْنَاهُ. We replaced that sacrifice of Ismail with a greater sacrifice. بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. Okay. So now we come to the fidya. So now you understand fidya is not a penalty, not a kafara. It is a replacement. It is a substitute. So إذا تعذر عليهم الصوم قلنا, we said that ولكن يلزمهم حينئذ الفدية. However, fidya will be required. Fidya will be required in that case. So in such case, they are required to pay fidya if they are not fasting. عن كل يوم, for every day, بمد من الطعام. Mud is like 3/4 kgs, like 750 grams. They can't fast, that's fine. They have to pay for each day 750 grams or 3/4 kg of food. والأفضل من الحنطة, and the best is to give from the wheat. بل كونها مدين, more than that, more even, that to give 2 mud, that means 1.5 kg. 1.5 kg. بل هو أحوط استحبابا, more even, that is a recommended precaution to give 1.5 kg. So those people who have elderlies at home, they can't fast. If they give 3/4 kg of food, it is better to give 1.5. And the best food is to give wheat. Now the problem is, nowadays in Pakistan and many countries, the life has become a little bit busier. So before they used to eat roti, and they used to make roti at home, chapatis and this and that. Nowadays, when the food is sent in Pakistan, this kafara and fidya, the poor people, they said, no, we don't want wheat. So what can we do? Because you can't give them money. You have to give them food. So now the poor people, they have become demanding. No, we don't want wheat. Why? Because we buy roti directly, and if you give us rice, it will be better. Because then when we buy roti, it is more expensive than if you give us rice. So rice we can cook at home, because rice easy to be cooked. But that roti is a hassle. So those people, bless those women in those old days, they used to roll with the rolling pin and balan and this and that and patla, and they used to make chapati. It was really a hell of a job. I used to see my mother do that. May Allah bless her. So it's not easy. New generation girls, they are given this task. The roti comes like broad, this, that. It's not even round shaped. So to make round roti, that's really a technique. Like winding this amama is a technique. No matter how much I try to wind this amama, it comes crooky. So they're expert. I tell them, just please help me. And they do this winding of the amama. So therefore, there are so many great ayatullahs. They can't wind their amama, but the knowledge is so deep. Because this amama requires some technique. There are people, mashallah, they're expert in winding amamas, but their knowledge is zero, according to my experience with some of these personalities. But there are, mashallah, scholars, they know how to wind their amamas. So therefore, this winding of the amama is like that making a round roti, precisely round. If you bring like my mother's rotis, if you will measure the diameter, it will be precise. Subhanallah, they have these skilled hands. But nowadays, you tell the girls nowadays to just learn, they will make like a mapla thick, and they will have this odd shapes like those cartoons, weird. Nowadays, they are making weird cartoons of SpongeBob and those weird creatures from Mars and this and that, like these kind of faces. You can draw eyes on it and face, you will have a cartoon character on that roti. So anyhow, so the poor people, they say no. So if you're going to give them wheat, okay, and they're not going to eat that wheat, and they're going to sell it at a lower price, and it will be loss for them, then you can give them rice. Because they want rice, just give them rice. Okay, it's a little bit expensive, but that's fine. and so it will come almost to 1 kilo of wheat, 1 kilo of wheat, rice. So you have to give 3/4 kilo. Give them 3/4 kilo rice. It will be almost close to the mustahab amount. So anyhow, give the poor what they eat, what is easier for them. You see, if you give them wheat, they can't cook. Their difficulty, they did not, their circumstances did not allow them to learn how to make the bread. So just give them rice. But say the Sistan says it's better to give them wheat. It's better, but whenever we have conflict between better and the reality, that better is subsided and the reality becomes better. So what will please this poor? What will make his life easier? We are giving them to make his life easier because he doesn't have food to eat. So rice will, okay, let it be rice. But wheat is sunnat of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Amir al-Mu'mineen, as we know, salamullah alayh, he used to bake the bread, mashallah. So that وَلَا يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقَضَاء. Qadha, making up, is not obligatory upon them. Okay? Qadha is not wajib. Because once these people, they give fidya, even though it is recommended precaution, if they are able to do qadha, then they do qadha. So he says, وَلَكِنْ يَلْزَمُهُمْ حِينَئِذٍ الْفِدْيَةِ. In such case, it is necessary for them to pay the fidya. And best is to give from the wheat. More even, the best of it is to give 2 mud, that means 1.5 kg, and that is the recommended precaution. وَلَا يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقَضَاء. It is not obligatory upon them to make up this day qadha لاحقا, later on. They don't have to. مَعَ التَّمَكُّنِ. If they are able to do qadha, no, it is not wajib. Done. You paid the substitute. Done. وَإِنْ كَانَ ذَلِكَ أَحْوَطْ إِسْتِحْبَابًا. Even though it would be a recommended precaution to do that qadha. Next slide. Okay, so now we have this exemption of male sheikha, female, elderly male, female, elderly, seniors. And then we have this, the one who's severe thirst. Now we have one more category which is mentioned in the narration. It is a pregnant woman and a woman who nurses her child. وَمِنْهُمْ الْحَامِلْ الْمُقْرِبْ. The pregnant woman who soon she's going to deliver the child, because the child is growing bigger and bigger. So she needs to eat more and more food. She needs to eat 2 people's food, one for her and one for the child, because the child is getting bigger, needs food. And where will they get the food? From the mother. So the fasting might cause malnutrition to the child, especially if we are living in communities where we have long fasts. So that can affect the child. الَّذِي يَضُرُّ بِهَا الصَّوْمُ. Where the fast is harmful for this woman. Okay? So there are 2 things. Now some other maraja, they have detail. See, the Sistani does not have any detail in this. So kindly check your marja when this ruling. So therefore, if we have this pregnant woman who's carrying a child, the child might hurt her. The child might hurt not the child, sorry. The fast might hurt her, or the fast might hurt the child. Sayyid al-Khu'i Quddisa Sirru used to say, if the fast will hurt her, she doesn't have to fast. If the fast will hurt the child, she doesn't have to fast, but she has to give fidya. Fidya, the same fidya, okay? Why? Because she's not going to be hurt. The child is going to be hurt. So that means since she's not going to be hurt, then we have to give a substitute, which is fidya. So this is the ruling of Sayyid al-Khu'i. Sayyid Sistani doesn't have difference. Whether the mother is going to be hurt or the child is going to be hurt. The fast is exempt from both of them. And we are going to talk about the fidya in next bullet. So this is number 1, a pregnant woman who's close to deliver her child, and and she is either she will be affected or the child will be affected. Next category, a wet nurse. wet nurse or the murdi'a, the one who's feeding milk to the child, she has less short in her milk. So where does the milk come? Again, the food you eat, it is transformed into milk. Okay, so if she has less milk and she's going to fast, then she might be hurt, or the child might be hurt because of the lack of milk. So he says that وَالْمُرْضِعَ الْقَلِيلَةِ اللَّبَنِ, feeding woman or a wet nurse who has shortness in the milk, if she is going to fast, the أَضَرَّ بِهَا الصَّوْمِ, the fast is going to hurt her, harm her. أَوْ أَضَرَّ بِالْوَلَدِ, or harm the child. So these both cases, they don't have to fast. وَعَلَيْهِمَ الْقَضَاء بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ. So they are exempt from fasting. However, it is wajib on them, obligatory on them to do the makeup. Both of them would do the makeup later on. Okay? Okay, so now that's it. But do we have to pay fidya because they did not fast? Here, Sayyid al-Khuy said that if it's going to hurt the child, yes. If mother, no. Sayyid al-Sistani says, Kama anna alayhim al-fidya. So they don't fast, they pay qada, they give fidya as well. أيضا, also. ولا يجزي الإشباع عن التصدق بالمد. So now in kafara, in penalties, what do we have? We have, we feed, okay? We feed the child, we feed the poor, or we give them quarter kilo, 3/4 kilos of food. Okay, so what do we do with in kafara and penalty? They say either you bring them at home, feed the 60 poor or 10 poor. It depends on kafara, which kafara we are talking about. So feed them to satisfaction. Feed them with average. Don't give them dal or something which you don't eat. Okay. No, give them average food. If you are your average food is like biryani every day, or give him average food. Don't give him cheese over bread. And I've seen some people, they say, Sheikh, can we give them jam and butter and cheese? So I said, is this your average food? He said, yes, I eat jam, butter and roti and bread. I said, no, that's your food. It's not the average food in your family. That's all of the family. If yes, then your family is weird. Like I've seen some family, okay, their foods are all this junk food. So, so therefore, if your average family eats junk food, then look at the average food of the community, because maybe he's not a junk food eater. Okay, so either you give them an average food which your family or the community eats, okay, or give them 3/4 kgs of food. So either you give them that kafara in hand food, you can't give them money, you have to give them food, or you feed them. You tell the restaurant, I'm giving you money for 60 poor. Like in Pakistan, many times this happens, that rich people, they come and they tell the restaurant owner, see, I have a kafara, I want you to feed 60 poor, you see, and their majority are from the Muslim community, so you need to feed 60 poor. So if you're planning to give them food, like raw food, then 3/4 kgs of food. Here in fidya, Ayatollah al-Uzma Sayyid Ali Sistani says, you cannot replace it by feeding them. You see, you cannot invite somebody for 30 days, come, I'll feed you, come, I'll feed you. In this fidya, food needs to be given. In fidya, food needs to be given. Not feeding till satisfaction. So that's why he said that وَلَا يَجْزِي, it is not sufficient to feed them in substitute of giving them sadaqah or fidya. Okay, giving them sadaqah kgs, three quarter kgs, 750 grams of fidya min ghayri farqin fi mawaridih. Doesn't, without any difference with whatever causes of fidya is. So whether it was this case or case of the one who is thirsty, a severe thirst, or the one who mentioned the sheikh and sheikha, the elderly male, elderly female, it doesn't matter. You cannot feed the poor food in replacement of giving them the raw food. Raw food is required. So he said at the end, yes, wala yajzi, it is not going to substitute. Last ruling in the case of those who are excused. Now, what about the nursing women, wet nurse? Okay, wet nurse. What if there was a substitute, milk substitute? And here we get a lot of questions from family members, especially those whose wives are nursing their child. They pop up this question. So let us see this answer of that can we like give that there is substitute milk, there is synthesized milk, there is artificial milk. Okay, nido ka, like in our days there used to be nido. So there was one mother, she said to his child that I have given you milk, I will never ever forgive you my milk. She said, no mom, you gave me the milk of nido, the canned milk, so that's fine with me. Anyhow, but mother, even she gives you canned milk, her care in the canned milk is not substitutable, not replaceable. Mother is mother, whether she feeds you canned milk or her own milk. She cares about you. That is what counts, not the milk itself. Anyhow, so what if there was a substitute like nido or like dano or like Shiddomino, Dano, these kind of milks, which were nowadays, I don't know, because very rarely I see those powder milks in front of eyes. Anyhow, so what happens in this case? He says, لا فرق في المرضعة بين أن يكون الولد لها وأن يكون الولد لغيرها. There is no difference. Wet nurse is wet nurse. It's going to harm the child, whether it's her child or child of someone else. Doesn't matter. The rule applies in all cases. There's no difference in the wet nurse whether the child was her or was someone else's. So, وَالْأَحْوَطْ لُزُومًا, and this is an obligatory precaution ruling. So if you are confused, you can refer to another marja who tells you, no, you don't need the condition of having substitute milk is not required. Say the Sistani has, on the basis of obligatory precaution, this rule of exemption that a mother who is nursing a child who will be affected if she does not eat and drink and she fasts, she will be affected or the child will be affected. He said there is a condition here on the basis of obligatory precaution. And what is the condition? To limit this exemption of a wet nurse to where there is no other method of nursing the child. There was no other method, and this was the only method for her. It was limited to the method of natural feeding, breastfeeding. بل لم يكن هناك طريق آخر. There was no other method لإرضاع الطفل, to nurse the child. ولو بالتبعيض, even by partially. Okay, let's say she has some milk. If she fasts, she has some milk. They can cover up the other part of the milk which the child needs with artificial or with another wet nurse. So therefore, even by partially, there was no other solution. Okay, there was no other alternate. طريق آخر لإرضاع الطفل ولو بالتبعيض, even through partial nursing, من دون مانع, without a preventive cause. أو بالإرضاع الصناعي, or by artificial feeding, synthetic milk. Okay, even though by artificial or synthetic milk. if the artificial milk can take the place of mother's milk, or the nursing wet nurse's milk, and there was no medical ramification, okay, then it is not permissible for her to break the fast. The artificial milk or the substitute mother wet nurse should be used. But now there's a question. Most of the youth, when they ask me, I ask them this question: is artificial milk going to cause any health ramifications, hazards for the child? So they all say, most of them, they said that the doctors have said, yes, what the mother can feed from her own milk is not substitutable for any type of artificial milk in the world. Especially in most of these artificial milks, they have chemicals in it. So therefore, there are so many nutrients and so many chemical components which a child needs for his immune system. It is only in the milk of the mother. Okay, so therefore it is obvious that yes, there is substitute, but if the doctor says that no, milk of the mother is needed, necessary, then in this case, yes, obviously this is going to be the case, that the substitute is not to the level of the original milk. Especially the child needs to strengthen its immune system. In that case, the mother is exempt from fasting, and she can she doesn't have to, and she can pay the fidya. So she doesn't have to fast because the wet nurse, the milk is going to be reduced, and the child needs that milk precisely. But in some cases, let's say it was the second year of the child. So he had enough milk from his mother first year. Okay. So second year, for example, if 1 month, again, consult your doctor. If 1 month of feeding the child, nido milk or whatsoever milk, okay, this powder milk or synthetic milk or dano, mano, shiddomino, dano, whatever. So if that milk is not going to affect the immunity of the child, and it's not going to cause health hazards, then yes, in this case, she's not permitted to break the fast. This is when applicable second. But first year, most of the cases, the doctors have mentioned that no, the first year of the child really needs to build up his bone and strengthen his bone and immune system by that. Now, so these were the cases of exemption of those people who are exempt from fasting, okay, according to the narrations. And inshallah, in next session, we are going to take another section of the rules of fasting. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلي على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على